some handouts for you. I don't often speak from notes to go along with my PowerPoint, but I want a very clear message. So if you don't mind, I'll speak from them and pass the handouts out as I go. So, good afternoon. If anyone told me a year ago I'd be presenting the results of my findings from a piece of academic research in London, I wouldn't have believed them. It's the first time I've done anything like this, so please forgive any nervousness or lack of confidence on my part. My name is Brian Todd. I work for Siemens Professional Education at Newcastle as a vocational tutor. The term's chosen very carefully. I'm certainly not a trainer. We train animals. We educate people. Since I was a child, that's a very small me on the left-hand side there, I've been interested in how things work. That picture just shows you how an axe can break a wooden box into firewood. This journey into craft was also a journey into people and relationships. This journey took me into the 1980s, only just into the 80s mind. I'm really not that old. But it took me on a journey where it's kind of led to today. There's me, big cheesy grin. That's out of intuition, page 18, something I'm really quite proud of. But I'm now a vocational tutor, which is even stranger, I think. So I've been on a really long journey. This, a national level archer with world records. It's an unusual journey from breaking sticks in somebody's backyard to becoming a vocational tutor to being 4-time national champion. It's odd. We aren't all the same. We are different. Let's celebrate it. My journey introduced me to the particular practice of engineering and the important vocational values, relationships and communities which have sustained good vocational practice in the past and continue to sustain it today. It's the people and the relationships that we have forged between us that have inspired and enabled me to become these people on here. Context of the research. Every year, Siemens takes on 10 apprentices. We get 1,000 applicants. Therefore, these places are fiercely fought over. Competition for places is going to be very strong. And we only recruit individuals who have got really good GCSE and A-level results. However, we do have, let's call it a softer side. We have what we call the Social Conscience Programme, where we run a programme of engineering training for people not in education, employment or training, often called NEET. The term NEET is an awful term. It labels somebody. We can all do without a label. The aim of the programme is to help them. Maybe it's just to see that with a bit of hard work and determination, they may become the engineers of the future. They may have just missed an opportunity. Let me start by pointing out that the research was conducted on a small scale. I appreciate that this means there's a need to be very careful about what I can and cannot claim, and the strengths of the recommendations I can make as a result of this. After all, I'm a beginning researcher. This is the first time I've conducted research into my own practice. It was an enlightening experience, and maybe I need another photograph on that second slide with somebody in a year's time with even madder hair and something else that goes on. That's why I started my research on a small scale. I decided to focus on the NEET group because they were most likely to fail, because they were at the margins of education within Siemens. Growing up at the margins, Frank Coffield wrote that. 80 something, it's ancient, it's yellowed. It's a very good book. Growing up at the margins, we don't stop teaching people because they grow up at the margins. We need to welcome them in and say, come on, let's have a go at this. My research was naturalistic. It was conducted in the context of my own practice, and the research methods are used: small-scale practitioner research, pilot study, literature review, capital report, fabulous piece of work, case studies, informal interviews, observations, engineering trainees, and field notes. What a pain field notes are to take every day, sitting writing what you've done all day at work. But it's absolutely necessary if we are to draw valid conclusions. I use thematic analysis of the data from the case studies and my field notes, informal interviews to help identify emerging themes in the study. I then use relevant and robust research and literature from the field of educational research to try to make some sense. That's the heading of this whole piece. Throughout this process, I was mindful of the need to draw upon credible and robust peer-reviewed and published educational research and theory, in contrast to research and literature in the sector, which can sometimes be based on nothing more than jingo, fad. I've got a list. Do you want us to keep going? I'll read them all for you. It's jingo, fad, self-assertion, the political quick fix, or the hard sell. How many of these have we had? Analysis of the feeling of assessment when at school gave a couple of very clear indications. I'll read these for you, but I do have them in a handout, which I'll give you later. John was a 20-year-old man, and he had recently left university, where he had been partway through a graphic design course. On reflection, John realised he had made a mistake and wanted to change career path. We all do it. He was turned off by his tutors at school because they forced him to go to university. You'll do well there, son, you'll do well there, son. So he didn't trust the tutors and turned him off education for life, until the dole, as he said, forced him to come on the programme with us. Jim, it sounds like a comedy double act. They really were, these two lads. Jim's a 19-year-old man who studied well at school, and he had problems with getting his work marked by his tutors. They said he asked too many questions. I'm one of those. And as a result of this, the school simply ignored his request for help. His parents went into school, tried to discuss it with him, which just made him even fall further behind. He was again turned off education. That is a case of bullying. So, assessment of experiences with me at Siemens. I've got Bernstein's pedagogic rights down here. I have them in handout form. I would love you to read them, and we'll discuss it at the end if you wish. To try and demonstrate interaction, I explained to Jim that throughout the time he was with me, he'd never be told not to ask any questions. He was entering a new culture. How are you going to know what to do, how to take part in that culture if you don't ask questions? Dead simple. Big smile on his face. You're telling me not that you don't mind me asking you questions? Absolutely. Dylan William, ringing around inside of me ears in the classroom experiment, 2012. Smart isn't something you are, smart is something you get. Jim, come here, just watch that. He watched it for an hour. And he turned around, you are bonkers. You've wasted an hour's worth of teaching for him to watch this. Turned on education. Is that really not what it's all about? So, like I say, those notes will be passed out at the end. I'll get your tentative findings. Tentative findings of the small-scale study suggest that many young people are still growing up at the margins. From Caulfield, again. Sidelined by a system of compulsory education which confines a high percentage of young people to their educational scrap heap. Findings from this study also suggest that programmes of vocational education need to be based upon important traditions and relationships which underpin good engineering and vocational education in the past, which are missing from some vocational practices today. The time may have come for us to have confidence to move beyond assessment practices and compulsory education in schools and vocational education establishments. These less than helpful assessment practices divert attention and energies of the vocational tutor such as myself away from forging of the relationships that have traditionally supported good practice in vocational education of the past. Vince. So in conclusion, the findings from the small-scale study tentatively suggest that the work at Dillon William alongside the work at Capital may help us improve vocational assessment practices in the future. Vocational education needs and deserves the very best. Research-informed assessment practices. The shortcomings in current curricula and assessment regimes need to be taken seriously. Professor Wolf, just last week, I'll hand that out as well. Another punch to the stomach. Otherwise, we will continue not only to fail young people who represent half our future, yet another book was written years ago, still a powerful message. We'll fail the taxpayer and ultimately the British economy. I hope that my own modest contribution as an RTF practitioner researcher may serve to open up some discussion about how assessment practices in the field of vocational education might be improved. Return vocational education back to the exciting and rewarding journey it once was. Move beyond teaching to the test. Who teaches to the test? Everybody. Tick box systems of assessment. There's a one. Tick box system. Do we all have them? Yeah. Shortcomings in re-engage on a personal level. The importance of sharing history, traditions and stories of learning and craft with our vocational education students, helping them to see themselves as the able and skilled people of the future. Hope. People who are capable and enjoy making things, people who enjoy doing the job well for its own sake in the future, and are prepared to work collaboratively to solve new and unexpected problems. May I allow someone more eloquent than myself to speak to us here? Newman's quote reminds us of the importance of educating the whole person. Life is an unpredictable thing. Frank Coffield reminds us electricians have souls too. Is that not what is being said here? It's a very different concept of vocational education to one which merely reduces and diminishes it to the level of narrow training for an often mindless instrumental purpose, usually somebody else's purpose. Sennett reminds us of the importance of reconnecting with the dignity, honour, intrinsic reward and excitement that producing things by hand brings with it. For some vocational educators, these sentiments have never been in doubt or questioned. For others, though, it's been reduced to a decontextualised, almost deconceptualised, meaningless system of tick boxes. From the tick box perspective, the vocational tutor's job is reduced to little more than the technical supervision of the methodical insertion of ordered facts and narrow skills into the hands and minds of students. Someone with a clipboard and a tick box. Would you like to borrow me tick box? And make sure your wheels are on tight. Make sure the engines have been serviced properly. Or someone called to their chosen vocation who wants to be the very best on every single day of their craft working in the community of practice and in the proud history and traditions and values of that craft. Thank you for coming to this presentation, and we have a few minutes now for questions, I think.
Any questions?
There was a great deal there, but the message is clear for me. Tick boxes. Can the student do this? Can they actually do the job in the workplace and converse with that? I've got a tick box for that, so I can't record it. Let's engage with our students.
So Brian, what happened to the three students that you had in the sample?
The students in this study, one evening we sat down and we applied for Siemens apprenticeships. There was three lads. One wanted to be a welder. We don't have welding apprenticeships. Two of them applied, and one actually got a job with Siemens. So the Dole sent him to us, his words, not mine. I had him on, let's say, an extended 10-week interview. Impeccable timing, appearance impeccable, the way he spoke to me was impeccable, and he actually succeeded in getting a job. So these things work. But it's because we engage on a personal level with our students and say, this is the right thing to do, this is how you fill out an application form. 19 and can't fill out an application form. Didn't know how to vote because it was about the time of the general election. Doesn't know how to sit in front of people. This is what I see when I receive students who have came from an education system, 11 years compulsory education, who are still grown up at the margins, half our future. It's another book, data in my case on the table. Half our future, half of these people are put on the scrap heap. People's nodding in the room, it really does make a connection. Thank you very much.
What's that? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment actually. Thank you very much. The presentation was brilliant. I've been working with them for over 10 years as well, and I've also been working with NEET for over 5 years. One thing I was going to say was, as teachers and also practitioners, I think we need to be mindful that these young people can sense whether we think they're going to fail or not. I think we do need to be mindful of that. Every time we do go into the classroom, we do need to try and get rid of that kind of thought in our minds that, oh, these young people are likely to fail, because they do sense it and it does affect their learning experience.
Yeah, and I would come back to that whole ethos, the whole idea with that. I don't do things to fail. I won't put myself through anything to fail. I've failed once in my life and it tastes awful. We either do it or we don't do it. If I shoot to break the record. I don't like coming second. I don't like it when 3 young men come up to me, being unemployed, and they are told, oh, well, it's just like a 10-week interview. No, we've got so many jobs, and if you are good enough, then you will be offered one of those jobs. You prove yourself. Come on. But I'm standing here as a master craftsman in my own right. I know the world that those people are going into. So I know how to prepare them properly for that world. Can we all say that?
Any final questions?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment. So I'm working with an organisation, they set a programme called Suited and Booted for their needs learners, and they spend a lot of time at the beginning getting their mindset changed. And for that, exactly, they use this phrase as, I've been sent to this course and I'm going to fail it anyway because I fail everything else. No. So they start with that sort of thinking, and they invest a lot of time in kind of changing that thinking. To get
Richard Sennett, in his book, The Craftsman, steers, it's a book with loads of little stories, but it's really good. What do you know? You're a teacher, because the kids have been turned off. Well, actually, I'm a master craftsman in my own right. This is not a plug for his book, mate. It's a fabulous read. But then you go to one bit and it says, duh, 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 duh. What does that mean? It means something to me, but no doubt if you read it, it would mean something different to you as well. So I'll give them that. Each one of those is a story that my students have liked. Now, that links up with Aristotle. Oh dear, we may be starting to get a bit heavy now, but why not read that? Oh great, there's a couple of pages which link together. So now I've got an NVQ student reading, God forbid. So we've got to show them the way. But how do we do it? Guided learning hours, don't do it. You've got 20 hours to do that unit. Get rid of 20 hours. You can't deliver this sort of life skill and the whole philosophy of what it means to do your job well in the world in 20 hours. You can get a narrow education in 20 hours. How to do? Pick that up, put it there. Pick that up, put it there. Yeah, that's not what we do.
That's very much right. Thank you.